Om Sadashivatsamarambam Shankarashaya Madhyamam Asmadasharya Paryantam Vande Guru Param Om. Okay, Namaste, welcome to our Panchadasi. We begin today verse 67 to 68. Page 129, 130. Okay, so we saw the introduction. The title is the yani, or the liberated person, the one who has asserted one's identity in consciousness as consciousness. Therefore, one does not need to go about claiming or saying anything about I am liberate, because it would be more like a joke, because we were never bound to any object. We are talking about Satya and Mithya. Satya never allows, nothing of Mithya impacts or gets attached or modifies what we are as conscious existence. So the verse says that the mind of someone who is completely identified with the self is not subject to distraction. And the intellect no longer thinks that it knows the self. Such a person is the self itself. So it's a very nice statement, because the person who knows its true identity as the self, as consciousness, has gone beyond that dualistic view of the self as something other than oneself. So the yani never thinks that I know the self, as something other than myself. So is not distracted by any of those notions, any things regarding objects of experience, because once one is formally identified as conscious existence, these identifications is firm, clear, and present at all times. So, and the person is not subject to distraction, and the person does not need to repeat I am consciousness, I am consciousness, I am consciousness. Does not need to do that sadhana of remembering, remembering I am the self, I am the self. It comes to a point that the person knows, I am a human being, and that is beyond doubt. So one does not need to assert that statement over and over again. So the intellect no longer needs this sadhana, and it does not think that I know the self. I know the self brings even more of a sense of duality, unless we complete that sentence to say, I know the self as my own self. So, and that's how the verse stops, ends. Such a person is the self itself, because the only way we can know the self is realizing that everything is the self and I am the self. It would be a little bit crazy to include everything as the self and the observer exclude itself from the self. It sounds a little crazy, but a lot of many people in the spiritual world sees the self. Everything is the self. Everything is the self, but it has a hard time to include itself in the self, because of the deceiving sense of duality. I and myself, I and everything. You understand? Because the observer, it tends to fall for this dualistic vision. I and even the self is taken to be a sort of phenomenal object. So such a person is the self itself, and then is it an arrogance to say that I'm not a person? You remember, Nisargadatta Maharaj used to say it again and again, and with a lot of enthusiasm. You are not a person. Stop deceiving yourself. I am not a person. So there is nothing arrogant about that. It's not delusional either. I'm not a person is the most truthful statement. Nobody is really an entity. Everybody's consciousness appearing as a person, as an entity, you know. But our fundamental true identity slash nature is Satchitananda, consciousness, existence. Huh? So such a person, although appearing as a person, the person is the self. But and then we have to remember, and then what is the difference between the yani, the difference between the one who has identified as the self? What is the difference between him and the one who is still identified with the body mind? Huh? What is the difference? Because everything is the self. Yeah? So one is going to say, I am the self. And by the way, you too are the self. Everybody is conscious existence of limitless free nature. Yeah? There is no difference. The only difference that the one has seen things as it is. Okay, so I was confusing my true identity nature as the body and the mind. And now I did some work and I have properly defined myself as the light of consciousness that brings about the body mind. Yeah? So it's a question of true vision, true perspective, angle of understanding from where I'm coming from. I'm coming from the planet Earth. Yeah? So where are you coming from? From my family. Yeah? So, but as your true nature, oh no, I'm Brazilian, I'm American. No, your true nature is beyond nationality, it's beyond planet. Okay, it's beyond galaxies and so on. What is your true nature? Oh, it is existence, consciousness, and it is limitless, one without a set. So it's a question of trying to understand who and what am I. This is a question that very people really gets involved about, because at the most they want to understand who they are from the Jiva standpoint as a psychological entity. I want to understand psychologically who I am, what I am. You understand? And they stop there. So Vedanta is going to take us beyond establishing oneself as a health body mind construct. So you want to go beyond understanding your traumas and whatever, and then say, okay, now I know some more about my body mind and my psychology. But I need to know something which is beyond my psychology. I need to know what is this mind. Oh, but now you have a health mind. So stop asking these uncomfortable questions. Just stop us getting a healthy mind. No, no, I'm a Vedantine. I want to know what I am beyond a health mind. Yeah? So, and then we need to go and establish, extend on a different uh, standpoint, or platform from where I see the body mind as an instrument of knowledge, an instrument of experience that, thanks God, was purified enough, refined enough so that I can, with the reflex that occurs, the reflection that occurs within this purified body mind, I can understand that I am the light of consciousness, reflecting and vivifying the body mind construct. So such a person is the self itself, and such a person never goes around say, I am Brahman, I am the greatest self and Mahatma. So that such a person is going to say, you know what? You are consciousness, you are just confused about your identity. You have confused yourself with the mind. So this is the sign of the yani. It's such as a person is not really a person, although it appears as a person. And such a person asserts that everybody is the self, appearing with infinite varieties of body-mind complex. So having said so, what is the doubt about that? So why we have somehow is still some uncertainty in regards to what we are, that in spite of all this discrimination, this, you know, these studs and the contemplation on these teachings, why we are still not absolutely convinced that what the scriptures are saying about my true nature is a fact. No? So that's the point. We need to understand why I'm resisting these statements. It makes sense to me. It resonates in a way that I know that is the truth. Huh? Now, why I can't really embrace it, why I can't really say, yes, I surrender. Now I know that the scripture is right. I'm not the body mind, I am the unchanging consciousness, always present, beyond birth and death, and so on. Uh, so everybody is it. I understood I am it, but still there are some doubts. There is some obstacles there preventing me from embracing, my real nature, my real identity as consciousness. Somehow we need to find out the nature of these obstacles so that they can be removed. And now it's going to talk about removing. The following verse comes and says, removing ignorance inspired projections is the final step in the self inquiry process. Okay? So we hear, we listen, we contemplate, we clear doubts, yeah, and then in the very, very end of this process, there are some notions that are very subtle. They are subconscious notions, yeah? Subconscious ignorance, which is ignorance inspired notions, vasanas, still residual ignorance of vasanas. They're wrapped up into the idea that I am the body mind and I am subject to time. So we need to remove this very subtle bits and pieces of ignorance which are there preventing us from really accept the Mahavakyas of Vedanta and enjoy our free and independent nature. So, therefore, the verse 69, removing ignorance inspired projection, is the final step in this process. Okay? So it's really it closes everything. After you have gone through every possible aspect of the teachings, you need to see those residual bits and pieces of ignorance, and apply the knowledge in the same process in the light of the teachings. Apply this process of self-inquiry, self-investigation in the light of the teaching until those vasanas stop bothering us. The vasanas are going to be coming from the causal body and are going to create doubts, okay? Because they were born out of total ignorance, and now they are mixed up with some Vedanta knowledge, Upanishadic knowledge, but they appear in the conscious mind still in a doubtful manner. Say as, oh, I don't know, I'm not so sure about what I am. Yeah. So we need to do that. And this is the final step in this process of Nididhyasana, Manana Nididhyasana. We have now described how the duality created by Jiva this differs from the duality created by Ishvara. So as we know, we have seen it in this long chapter 4, we saw the creation of Ishvara, the duality created by Ishvara. Ishvara creates the world. Right there, we have the creator and the creation. It is a duality, but it becomes really, literally, and practically manifest as duality when the creature, the Jiva Atma, appears. And then we have the duality subject object. So this is created by Ishvara, and we can't do anything about that. And then, of course, Ishvara, Jiva is going to reinforce that duality, believing that the objects are real and they serve a certain purpose, and then they are going to create a lot of colors and textures, and it's going to create its own duality based on one's vasanas. Now I have the subject object, and the world is dual, and the objects are real, and they are there to satisfy me, and I need to consume them, and I keep bound to samsara, chasing objects of desire. So we have seen in which way Jiva creates duality, and which way Ishvara creates duality. So what is the main difference between Ishvara's creation and Jiva's creation, Claudio? This is a difficult one, huh?
Yeah, because every time I don't know what, because every time you ask me a question, there is it's like that inside me there is the answer, but I don't know what words to use to explain it. Maybe so it's very hard for me because I see a lot of things to say. I cannot synthesize it in words. I still don't have the Vedanta word. That the difference. So the difference between Ishvara creation and Jiva, yeah, it's that Jiva duality is actually a projection created by vasanas, more or less. Okay, so this is one thing.
Both creations, duality projected by Maheshwara and the one projected by Jivas, both are function of vasanas on the collective level and individual level. So who can say a difference between Ishwara's duality and Jiva's duality?
One thing that I recall is that the scripture brought out that the Ishwara's duality cannot be removed. It need not be removed, and actually it should not be removed because it provides the guru and the shastra for liberation, whereas the Jiva Dvaita just provides problems. And you might as well get rid of it or negate it. It probably can't ever be gotten rid of, but as Swami P says, frequency, intensity, and recovery should go down for the Yoni who has fulfilled Nididhyasana.
Yeah, and how about you, Mark? You have anything to say, or you are satisfied with Lynn's answer?
Yeah, Lynn's answer was good. What I was thinking, which is basically the same as Ishvara's reality, even though it's not an absolute reality, has an empirical reality to it. Jiva's reality is just a basica reality. And so it's just a projection rather than, it's not actually factual in any way.
Very good. So, both two different angles of your question, your answer, and Lynn's answer. Then fundamentally, we know that Ishvara projection is there and cannot be removed, and Jiva's projection, Jiva's duality, can be removed by self-knowledge, by understanding the nature of the object. And then you even say more. One is objective reality, the other is a subject mental perception of the physical reality. And Claudio also has pointed us in the right direction when he was trying to elaborate his answer. So very good. So we understood this subtle difference, and we don't want to go about trying to remove Ishvara's duality, because it is impossible. Ishvara creates it, and it created on the account of the human beings' vasanas, all the vasanas that we provide in the macrocosm field of interaction. Okay, so how to remove this duality, how to remove this ignorance, how to remove this projection? Vedanta investigation, vichara, even though Vedanta it is duality, Vedanta works now within duality, of course. I mean, outside the scope of duality, there is nothing we can talk about. There is nothing there. So Vedanta is within Mithya. Even though Vedanta is within Mithya, it's a good Mithya, it's a good aspect of Mithya. It's saying here it's a good duality because it will give self-knowledge, and seeking will stop once you know who you are. Live well and discriminate, continue. So, how to remove ignorance, as we know, is the teachings of the Upanishads, which is the investigation of the true nature of phenomenon or reality. When we start investigating the phenomena objects, we end up understanding that everything is just an apparent superimposition on that which the only reality, which is consciousness or existence. So Vedanta, we say, oh, but if reality is non-dual, so why Vedanta is taking us through all this process, which is within duality, Of course, it must be within duality, as I often put, it's within Mithya that you can understand the true nature of Mithya is Satya. So if you say, no, I'm going to look for Satya within Satya, in Satya there is no duality. There is no seeker and anything to be sought, you understand? So it is within duality that we have the potential to understand the non-dual nature of this apparent duality. Okay? So we need to be in Mithya, we need to be within this interaction with the field to understand the true nature, because once we left this realm of duality, we don't have the tools by which to interact and extract more wisdom and knowledge until I get a clear self-knowledge. You understand? A knowledge in regards to everything. So we need to go through this vichara in the light of the teaching. The other thing is to prepare, removing impurities, malam. Impurity consists of excess of rajas and tamas. So this is a construct. We say that if the subtle body has excess of rajas and tamas, the mind is going to be a little bit negatively impacted, and not able to remain focused, following the logic. And then once it does follow the logic, it needs to remain in a certain condition to retain this knowledge, because otherwise the mind modifies too much. And then rajas come into place, and then one begins falling for the object duality and doubting the understanding of the true nature of reality as non-duality. So the mind needs to go through this process of purification. You need to remove impurities, excess of rajas and tamas. If you don't remove rajas and tamas, then before you realize you will have to remove them afterwards if you want to live happily. Yeah. So there are 2 points here that I want to emphasize. One is some people say, no, I am what I am, and I want the knowledge. I don't care to prepare the mind or purification or refinement or anything, And I'm a very smart person, and I will get it. And then one does not go through the natural process of development of certain purities or qualifications. And then one somehow stumbles into self-knowledge. There are so many people that we heard the story that they get it, but then they later on they believe that they are in doubt. They lost it, and when they get it, they feel like confident, and they feel free from their experiences. But then doubt comes in, and then one starts feeling insecure again. So we need to do this job, because more often than not, people understand I am limitless consciousness, but because the mind was not properly prepared, this understanding is not really clearly and firmly retained. Okay, the spiritual world, in my opinion, my take is that there are millions of people, thousands of people who had a glimpse that I am consciousness, but somehow, due to lack of preparedness or purification, the mind cannot hold, effortless hold that vision for a long time. So we need to do that. If we don't do it before, we can try to do it afterwards. So I don't know. Usually, people who get a glimpse I am consciousness, and at least most people I know, they have a taste of freedom, and then first they feel a little bit frustrated when that flavor of freedom go, and second they don't like the idea of going back to first step and begin developing the qualifications that are required to retain. There is some ego there that say, no, I got it already, so I'm just I want to have my freedom back, and then they may get resentful with Ishvara, with God, with Brahman sometimes. I met some people in that position as well. Removing afterwards is an option. In fact, if you, whatsoever qualification you developed, once you understand who you are, so further purification, refinement is unavoidable. Life is a school, and the school is going to allow us to further refine, or elevate ourselves, as sometimes I put, So I want to elevate my mind, my intellect. So I want to become more pure, have a certain frequency, and see the world from that perspective of non-duality. So once we realize this, further purification is natural and unavoidable. You understand? First, I mean, you are not going to go back to do stupid things if you really realize. So you're going to do things that is in harmony with your understanding. Now your new understanding about what you are and what everything is. So we need to know that. That's why Vedanta presents a list of qualification. So and we know that even after I get to know, I get this self-recognition, I need to watch my vasanas, my bits and pieces of ignorance is still troubling me here and there. And it could be ignorance in regards to my nature as such, but could be ignorance, which is most common in regards to Dharma and the Dharma. The understanding of my relationship as a Jiva Mukta, appearing as a Jiva, interacting with the field as a Jiva, my relationship with Ishvara and Jagata, which are the laws structuring the Dharma field. So most of the time, people do not have that understanding. And then they feel a bit confused because I am Satya, the world is Mithya, and I don't care. I mean, anything I do is okay because the world is just an illusion. No? But it's not really like that if one wants to live in harmony and happily, and peacefully with one's environment. Otherwise, what's the use of self-knowledge if you cannot enjoy the fruits of self-knowledge, which is Shanti, peace, freedom from conflict, freedom from a disturbed mind. And that's why we want self-knowledge. The methods to remove impurities called yoga and are revealed in the Gita. We have Karma Yoga, as we know, and then is the primary means. So it is the clear recognition that there must be a creator, because we don't have a creation, and I am an integral part of this creation. if there is a creation in which I am an integral part, there must be a creator. And then one refines the mind to the extent that one understands God not as a super Jiva, but as pure knowledge intelligence, this incredible being, this unmanifest, physically speaking, being, made out of pure sattva guna, pure knowledge, pure intelligence, so that it structures the creation in a certain way, sustains it, and recycles it from moment to moment. So we get into Kama Yoga to understand the relationship with the Creator, the relationship between our actions and results of actions and reactions, and so on, cause and effect. We have to understand all of that, and then our mind begins the process of purification naturally, without having to abandon our family and business, and we just stay in life. But we became a Kama Yoga, which is the most potent natural uh, refine, how you say, yoga to prepare a purifier of the body-mind complex. So, and then there is another aspect to how to begin removing these impurities. We begin by taking a fearless, honest, moral inventory. You have to understand that if you want to get rid of suffering, you need to begin by structure your life in a certain way that your lifestyle is in harmony with the removal of suffering. So I want to be happy, but I have to live in a certain way if my goal is, a peaceful, well, properly resolved mind. I cannot say, no, this is my goal, but I don't give up on my lifestyle. I do what I do because I do since I was a child, and I don't care. My father was doing that, my mother was doing that. I keep doing these things. So we need to really look into our values, and make an inventory. And this is something that is the very base of Kama Yoga, a moral, honest inventory to say, okay, so am I living in an environment which is conducive to this purification, this preparation of the mind, readiness or development of this. I'm living in a sattvic environment, or I'm living in a rajasic, tamasic environment. You understand? So, am I associated with people who are wiser than me, or I associate with people who are more ignorant than me? So it's very appealing to associate with people who are less wise than you. I have a student that she often used to say, "Oh, I got a new boyfriend," and he tells me again and again, "Wow, you are so wise," So when we find association with people who are much more or less wise than us, they are going to praise us. So, but it's always better to associate with people who are wiser than us, because that's going to help to elevate us. Because you look up, you don't look down. You just say, okay, I need to do some work here to develop more sattva guna and more of a contemplative mind and wisdom that comes with it. So we need to look at our lifestyle, make a nice inventory, analyzing our values as unfold in the Bhagavad Gita. Inquiry into the cause, nature, and consequence of each positive and negative emotion, not coercive behavior, will turn a negative mind into a positive mind. Okay, this is more like inquiry, psychological work. Okay, so you need to understand psychology a little bit as well if you want to purify the mind. So you experience some negative emotions. So you need to understand the dynamic, the mechanics that triggers that negative emotion than negative mind. So if we have negative patterns and mental patterns, so we need to understand what brings about, where does this sit in my subconscious mind, where are the roots of this behavior that I want to break. So we have to see it, connect the dots, cause and effect. For the negatives, and of course you can look into the positive thoughts and emotions as well. So we want to turn the negative mind into a positive mind. This is the number one lesson. And we need to honestly look into those patterns. So this is more on the psychological level. Consistent application of the opposite thought, pratipaksha bhavana, will transform the mind. So this is an easy trick to do. So if you have some self-limiting or self-offensive, insulting thoughts, such as "so I am small and inadequate," and then you say, "No, I am okay and I'm absolutely adequate." "Oh, I am stupid." "No, I'm not stupid. This is a notion I got. I am the self, and furthermore, I am a human being, and I'm totally okay. I'm intelligent being, therefore I would not be here associated with the scriptures of Vedanta." So we just apply the opposite thought to offset those negative tendencies. Now we have these vasanas or tendencies, and we have tendencies. A lot of us have negative tendencies. Some of us have positive tendencies, and a lot of the time the positive tendencies, they are just there, still suppressing or to compensate negative tendencies. So we need to look beyond all of that to be free from those tendencies, so that we stand as an intelligent human being, making our judgments moment to moment, as free as possible from our tendencies, our compulsive mechanical tendencies, you understand? Even the positive tendency is something that we need to let go about. It's like, oh, the person has a positive self-image, and some people have a negative self-image. So what is the best? So generally speaking, we see a positive self-image, a positive ego is better, but ultimately, if you feel yourself to be great, a go-getter, intelligent, and a brilliant person, still you are trapped into the identification with a positive ego now. An ego who thinks of itself in a positive way and sees the life in a positive way. But generally speaking, it's better to have a positive mind. So when you think I am incomplete, think of yourself, no, I'm satisfied. When you think I hate someone, it's good to think, no, I love this person, because everybody has something that makes one's lovable. In any case, it's a question of looking to what aspect of the other you could see a lovable person. Prayer. Pray for understanding, courage, resolve, etc. So this prayer is something that a lot of people pray, as we know, in the early stage of one's process. One becomes religious person. Religious person is someone who has integrated Isvara, God, in their life. And then one learns about prayer, and prayer seems to have a great power. And a lot of the people are going to pray for what? They're going to pray for having punya, favorable circumstance, protection, security. Please protect. I am a good person, and I want, please, I'm praying for protection. So in Vedanta we say, you have to pray for understanding, because here you are doing vichara, investigation into the nature of the self you are, which is free from your experience. Therefore, there is no need for concern. There is no need for fear or insecurity. So if you are identified with the body mind and you feel insecure or concerned, and then you have to pray for protection. So we come to Vedanta and say, no need to pray for protection because you are beyond protection and and otherwise, So and then if we have a prayer is gonna pray. So give me the courage, to face this battle with beginningless ignorance, So give me the resolve, the resolution, the inspiration, the power, that I'm going to face this great enemy, which is ignorance, the biggest, the enemy, number one, the enemy of all enemies is this ignorance in respect to what we are. And then it appears as, violation of Dharma and all kinds of ignorance out there. So, but the fundamental ignorance is I don't know who I am. So, and I have understood that this is the fundamental problem. And the only solution is the knowledge, the understanding, the direct and immediate understanding of what the scriptures are pointing out. And for that, I need to be very courageous, determined, and resolved, so that I don't wave, I don't give up. I just go for it, no matter how long it may take or may not take. Yeah? So I pray for that. I pray for courage, resolve, determination, inspiration, trust. I trust the scriptures. I trust the Guru. So therefore, I'm praying for you. Give me more trust, because here and there I find myself still doubting those statements of the scripture and so on. So our prayer as Vedantins has a different flavor to it, as we know. Number 6, conscious daily resolution to practice a particular virtue. Today I will not criticize my husband. So conscious daily resolution. Why you are laughing, Lee?
Having been married, it has been a sankalpa for me.
I thought you were laughing because I changed the sentence. I say, I will not criticize my husband rather than my spouse. My spouse is husband and wife, huh? Isn't it? Yeah. Okay. You see, we can use all these kind of strategies to neutralize or offset some of these negative tendencies. Huh? So there is quite something we can do to go about removing this impurity. This is all under the item of dealing with negative or tendencies or impurities, mental, psychological, emotional impurities. Huh? And then we have association. Association is the most important. Association means satsanga. Sangha is association. So we want association with Sat, association with the scriptures, with the truth. Such is existence, that which is the only reality, the truth. So association with Sat, association with the gurus, with the wise souls, the yanis. A restless mind is brought under control through nididhyasana or yoga. Verse 2255 to 413 of Viveka Shuddhavani discuss the practice of training the mind to stay focused. Once the impurities are gone, the knowledge more easily becomes firm. Okay, so it talks about, he made this commentary about in regards to association. So association with satsanga, with the truth, is association with Sattvaguna. As we know, the scriptures is scripture is a manifestation of pure knowledge. So when we talk about knowledge, we put the knowledge, the scriptural knowledge, which is revealed knowledge, which is a knowledge originated by consciousness or by Isvara, as we wish. This is a knowledge which is not subject to error. Okay, it is the knowledge, a spiritual principles, knowledge, in respect to a spiritual development for the Jiva Atma, the creature that it was project designed to experience and grow. So we have now the laws, the spiritual ethic principles and laws, including the analysis of experience presented by Vedanta, that is going to to give us the possibility of self-knowledge. So association with such sangha, with such, is association with sattva guna. But sattva guna, not the experiential sattva guna obtained by samadhi yoga. This is association with the knowledge, the pure knowledge, which is pure sattva, manifest as the words of the scriptures. So there is no better association than the association with this pure knowledge. Okay, so this knowledge is passed on by great souls. So association with these gurus. And why we need this association? Because we need a sattvic mind. And there is no better purifier than this vichara, this Vedantic investigation, because we are just applying the mind to these revelations that come from pure knowledge, which is permeated by sattva, and then slowly your mind starts, resonating with the sattvic message of Ishvara, and then we have a focused, clear sattvic mind. Otherwise, we have a restless mind, and a restless mind is most efficaciously brought under control through the Vedantic nididhyasana. So the Vedantic nididhyasana is the greatest purifier there is, but then it appears to be a contradiction, because I just said that Kama Yoga is the greatest purifier. Okay, so but on a certain stage, Kama Yoga is the greatest natural purifier, and then farther down the road, we have the possibility to say that Ashtanga yoga or deep meditation is a great purifier, because it's going to bring about one-pointedness, focus to the mind. Okay, but overall, in a later stage, we're going to say there is no purifier such as the Vedantic nididhyasana. This flow of thoughts around the teachings, this homogeneous flow, remembering, keeping this knowledge in respect to what you are alive in your mind. So there is no purifier, because you are dealing with words that are the finest expression of pure sattva. So nididhyasana is a great purifier. So the mind gets under control through nididhyasana, and then it says that, and through meditation and in the Vivek Shuddhamani, there are some discussions about all these meditations in the Bhagavad Gita as well. Once the impurities are gone, the knowledge becomes more easily firm, stable. Okay, so that is the bottom line. Any questions, suggestions, commentaries? And then we end now the chapter 4. Next week we enter the chapter 5 with the verse 69. Discriminate to remove Jiva's sense of duality. So it's just reminding us, don't try to remove Ishvara's duality, but discriminate to remove Jiva's duality. Okay, and Jiva's duality is nothing but the belief that the world of objects is the absolutely real, and then I need what I need to be free. I need to consume certain experience to find the freedom and security and peace. Trying to find peace by consuming objects of experience is an impossible job, because the objects are all the time changing. The meditator or the seeker of objects, the go-getter, is changed as well. And then yesterday he got a new object of experience that satisfied him or her, but only for a couple of hours, because the go-getter has changed. So the world is changed, the jiva is changed. So, and to try to remove this sense of incompletion, of dissatisfaction, by chasing the objects in duality, it's not going to work. So we need to discriminate. Discriminate what? My true nature as satya from my inferior nature or apparent nature as the individual who is relating to the objects that appear before my eyes every day. So I discriminate my nature as satya, the world is nitya, the jiva is nitya, and if I want freedom, satisfaction, peace, I need to keep discriminating the subject from the object. So myself as consciousness from the body-mind complex and the world perceived through this body-mind complex, I leave the world alone and I just discriminate my true fundamental free and independent nature from the jiva and the world appearing through the jiva. So that is the way to remove the duality from the jiva standpoint, is understanding that it is a secondary appearance order of reality that does not really contain the peace and satisfaction and happiness that I'm here for. We come here because we want to be happy, and we say, no, I want to go back there because there are certain things I did not consume in my past life. I want to eat some more experience, and then I come back. And then you understand, okay, so I'm getting indigestion here with consumption of experience over and over again. And so I have to put an end to it. So I need to discriminate, and then I get to understand my nature as such. And then no further actions are needed to find completion, because I am already complete. Okay, so next Thursday is the day I'm supposed to leave from here, and I believe we will leave from here. We do our Drisha 1 hour earlier. Okay, I'm going to figure it out and send a WhatsApp message and email as well. Okay. Om Purnamada Purnamidam Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnamadaya Purnamevavashishate. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Thank you, Lord. Thank you, my friends. Namaste. We meet again next Thursday, Isvara willing.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Arlinda.
Thank you, Mark. Thank you, Lynn.